Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi here in Walterboro for my last night. Hard to believe, right? Day 28, we get the verdict we've been waiting for weeks. Guilty on all counts. Alex Murdaugh will be sentenced tomorrow morning at 9:30. I'll be in the courtroom for that. And then you girls heading back to Greenville, back to the people I love. I can't wait. This has been such an amazing experience. I cannot even tell you, first of all, how grateful I am to Law and Crime for trusting me with such a huge case, the biggest case South Carolina has ever had. And I'm a South Carolina girl. So it was amazing to not only sit in this courtroom every day and watch this unfold, but to learn something new has been the coolest thing ever. And I've had a lot of people who have taught me so much, and I'm super grateful. The people of Walterboro, just the most loving and caring people. If you guys are ever here, go see Smoking Butts, Shorty Smoking Butts Barbecue. They rock. They are my people. The courthouse staff, y'all. I'm gonna miss them, like legit. I may cry tomorrow when I have to tell them goodbye. I'm serious. You know, you see these people every day and then you kind of get to know them. And then I look forward to seeing them every day. Everybody just so happy, always smiling, always in a good mood. And the new friends I've made covering this trial, it's been amazing. I've made some lifelong friends who have taught me so much. I'm super, super grateful. All right. I got to thank some people real quick. Big thank you to Debbie, Jenny, Lindsay, JG Rum Senior 1, Dan, and someone who didn't put their name. Big thank you for your donations. I appreciate you guys so much. I really do. Okay. So you're going to have to bear with me with this episode. Number one, it's not going to be very long. I have to pack. I have to load my car tonight and get some sleep and get back up to be there in plenty of time for verdict. I'm sorry, for sentencing. So what happened today? Well, as you guys know, we had that juror that was removed, and I felt so bad for her. I felt so bad for her. It was embarrassing. The courtroom was packed. As you can imagine, it's closings. We know it's going to deliberations. And they bring her in and make her stand in the jury box alone. But apparently she had talked to three people at some point and expressed her opinion on, I guess, the guilt or innocence of Alex Murdaugh, which now we find out that she allegedly had told people that she did not think he was guilty, which is why, of course, the defense today did not want to let her go. But it had to happen. It was funny because they wouldn't let her go back it wasn't funny, but they wouldn't let her go back in the jury room. But she's like, I got eggs in there. So Judge Newman was like, now we've got eggs. It was kind of a lighthearted moment. And I have to say, Judge Newman, what an amazing judge. I'm proud that he is one of South Carolina's own. I think he's retiring after this, and it's very much deserved. I think he's been fair. There have been times where he has given it to the defense and he's given it to the state, and he did not differentiate in his he gives some very pointed answers that I just love. Doesn't leave much wiggle room for these attorneys when he says, like, sit down. So I think he's done a great job. All right, man, guys, this has been insanity today. I really thought tomorrow would be verdict, although I'm not surprised it was today. These jurors have had 6 weeks to sit and hear this evidence over and over sometimes when it comes to certain things. So I figure they probably went back and took an initial vote, and it was probably all guilty. And then they did look at some video footage of maybe an interview or something, because they asked for a monitor, which they did not have back there, like a TV monitor, by the way, not like a monitor. Some people got confused when I tweeted that out. And we had heard that they weren't going to feed them dinner. So I don't know if that's true or not. And so I said, yeah, they'll be gone at like 6, because they had told them, I believe they could have stayed until 10 tonight. And then we had heard today, initially we had heard they were going to deliberate over the weekend. And then we heard today they're not. And had they deliberated tomorrow, it was going to be like a 4 o'clock release. So I was thinking, "Oh, man, if they don't come to a verdict before tomorrow, I'm gonna have to go to Greenville and then come back Sunday," which is fine because that's what you do. I mean, things don't run on our schedule, and these jurors deserved, uh, it was 2 hours and 50 minutes officially, I think. They if it took them 2 weeks, that's what it would have taken, and we would have been here, but they were ready, and we started seeing that this week. They have been attentive, they've been a great jury. They have done their jobs and done it well. But you do see the fatigue this week, and we've all talked about how they just really were done. And I think that at that point, they had heard everything, and it seems like that the closings were very lengthy. They went on for 2 days, and so I think that it didn't take long. Obviously, 2 hours and 50 minutes, right? Okay, so what happened when we got the notice that there was something going on? So the courthouse across the street is a wildlife center where they have snakes and little alligator in a little thing, and that's where all the media meets up if you're not inside the courtroom. A lot of people in there live tweeting and just people that are doing their thing that doesn't require them to be in the courtroom. So I was in there and I was sitting with James from court. So if you're on Twitter or YouTube, you know James, who is now a fast friend of mine. He had left out of there, and then I get word through a text something's going on. So I get all my stuff and I run to Law and Crime's tent. And Jeanette was there. Our 2 photogs, Evan and Josh, were there. And I'm like, "Something's going on, y'all." And they're like, "Yeah, we're kinda hearing something." So how this kind of all started is Nancy Grace comes out of the courtroom and she's like, "Guys, guys." And she goes over to her tent and puts on a different blazer, puts some makeup on. And then I go up and talk to somebody and I'm like, "Do we need to get in the courtroom? Or do I need to get ready to go in the courtroom?" And they winked at me. So I was like, "Oh, it's on." But at that point, we did not know if it was a verdict or not. So they start letting the media in first. We go sit down. It felt like 4 hours we waited, y'all. And we're still thinking there's a possibility this could be a jury question. This could be maybe they're already deadlocked. We just didn't know because nobody told us verdict until we see the family come in and they are looking super nervous, y'all. Bless their hearts. Look, today I'm sorry. I'm not gonna sit here and bash the Murdaugh family. It's not what I do. It's not what I'm about. I felt very bad for Buster tonight. So the agents were nervous, the SLED agents, very red-faced, very, very red-faced. I have to say to the lead agent, Owens, I love him, y'all. He's so sweet. He's such a nice guy. He looks a lot like a guy I grew up with named Tim, and he's the one also that lost his mom the day before he testified and got up on that stand and did what he did for Paul and Maggie. So just major respect to him. All right. When they brought Alec in, he was kind of jerky. He just was very uneasy, obviously stressed, not knowing what the verdict was going to be, but probably expecting, as an attorney, when they come back with a verdict in 2 hours and 15 minutes, is usually not a good thing, right? So at that point, the family is just, man, it was palpable in there. Buster was patting his girlfriend on the shoulder, kind of reassuring her in spite of the fact he was very nervous, as he should be. The defense actually FaceTimed somebody from the defense table with Alec there. I don't know if it was maybe family. I don't know. We couldn't see, couldn't hear, but it was obvious there was a FaceTime call, and I saw it, and some other people did too. So what family was there? His sister, her husband, Buster, and his girlfriend, Brooklyn, did not see John Marvin or Randy. Now they bring the jury in. So Buster, the whole family watches the jury, kind of not full on looking, but sort of side eyeing just to see if they can maybe get a vibe. I know that it's kind of imminent at that point. We're going to have the verdict read, but I mean, I'm sure the anticipation for the family was hard. Right before they started to read the verdict, his sister and her husband kind of both just kind of bowed their head for a second. And it was guilty. As we know, as you saw, Buster was sort of frozen. His girlfriend was looking up at him every so often, just kind of, I guess, gauging his reaction. His sister leaned over and kind of just rubbed Buster's shoulder in a very reassuring way, very deep breaths throughout. And Buster was trying to hold back emotion, and that's okay. I mean, so look, I know the talk out there about Buster. I don't do it, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it until I have a reason, which is a legal reason. that something's out there. But for me, Buster is a victim. He's a living victim right now, and he is the one that's going to have to deal with never having his mom, his brother, or his dad in his life really ever again, except for by phone with his dad or behind a glass. They won't celebrate any holidays. Alec won't be there, or Maggie and Paul won't be there when Buster has his first kids or whatever. I mean, he's a victim to me, and I really felt for him tonight. It was hard. He really was holding it back a couple times, wiped his eyes, wiped his nose. And so they polled the jury, and the family did look at the jury as they're being polled, and that was when they each confirmed their verdict. Now, I'm gonna tell you, when they cuffed Alec, that cop popped those handcuffs. It was loud. It was very loud. Not sure if it was intentional or if it was just, the room was that quiet, because I was very much surprised at how quiet. Now, we all were told in none uncertain terms, if you make noises when this verdict is read, that's how we knew it was a verdict. By the way, the bailiff comes in and says, when this verdict is read, I don't want any reaction. You will be removed. There was some public in there. There were a couple of rows on one side that were empty. It happened so fast. We were told it would be 45-minute notice from verdict to when it would be read. And it took about 20 minutes really for it to register that there we needed to get in there, but it was never announced really, unless I missed it through like the PIO, but it was just announced in court, when this verdict is read, if you say a word, you're out of here, essentially. When they handcuffed Alec, they turned him around and he locked eyes with Buster. Locked eyes. His face he went from what I heard, as I have not watched back the verdict yet, to see Alec's reaction. I heard he was very stoic, no emotion, but the minute he turned and locked eyes with Buster, he started to cry and said, "It's okay, I love you." That's what I think I saw come out of his mouth. Buster kind of looked down, try not to get emotional, but Alec was very emotional, and it wasn't until he saw Buster that I think he let loose, and no cameras could see that. So it was something that those of us sitting there did see. Now, what did they do? They moved for a mistrial. They have to do that. He said, Judge Newman's like, 28 days of testimony. It's solely for the jury to determine, and it's denied. So murder, 2 counts of murder for Paul and Maggie, and then possession of a weapon during whatever that was, the sentence. So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going to Greenville tonight. Wow, I'm gonna go home and finish or the hotel. I call it home. Finish packing up my stuff. I'm halfway packed. I kind of thought, if not today, then tomorrow, and I would have to pack my car anyway. And then Judge Newman's like, we're gonna defer the sentencing to a later date. I'm like, oh boy, like, when's a later date? And so he asked the defense, when do you want to do verdict? And they're like, 9:30 tomorrow. And they were like, that's fine. That's fine. So that's fine for me. I'm doing my episode here. It's a little off the cuff. Thanks for being patient with it. But I've got to get some sleep. So I did not want to type these out. And I made this weekend go through the closings just to finish out this testimony. I really just wanted to kind of give you a feel for what it was like in that courtroom. Watching it on TV is one thing, but being in there, it is crazy. The emotion that we all felt, I think, because we've been so invested in this case for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've lived this case for 6 weeks now, 28 days of business days. And it's kind of one of those things where I wasn't surprised it was guilty. Not at all. The last couple of days, I really thought it might lean that way. I think when you hear it laid out in closings, because you get lost in the testimony, right? So you have really technical stuff for the week, and it can get a little bit monotonous, and it can get a little hard to follow at times. But when you hear the case laid out from beginning to end, it's so incriminating, and it's circumstantial, I know, but the law doesn't discriminate. Circumstantial is to be held in the same regard as your hard evidence, right? And just doing a little inventory of all of it, I just thought, I really don't know what they're gonna do. I would not have been surprised if it was a hung jury at all. But they did their job, and they've been great jurors, amazing jurors. So I'm sure they're glad this is over. The judge told them when they were done, of course, he appreciates their service, And if they wanted to talk to the media, that would be their decision. Also said, if anybody in the media gives you a problem, come see me and I'll deal with it. I think that he's up for a minimum of 30 years for each to life. It will be life without parole tomorrow morning, I do think, up to 5 years for the weapons charges. And then that's served concurrently if life is imposed, which I think it will be. To a double murder, he'll get life tomorrow. So, it was surreal. Just, um, it's crazy. Verdict for me is always so stressful. I always laugh and say that I need Valium on verdict watch because I'm like, are they going to find him guilty? Are they going to find him hung jury? I never thought it would be a not guilty. None of us did. We all said zero chance this is not guilty. But I think that the air in that room was just something just crazy. I don't know. I've sat in verdicts. I was in there for Jodi Arias. I think because I sat through this entire trial, you just get so invested and you're just like, what is it? What is it? What is it? Do I think they got it right? I do. I really try not to put too much out there about my opinions until these cases kind of are finished up with the closings, and that's kind of a goal of mine from here on, is to keep it just fact based and not give too much opinion. But I do think that it just fits. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. That timeline was so tight. I do wish a better time of death could have been established, but really it's not a question. And I think one of the biggest things to me is that kennel video is what nailed him to the wall. You can't get on that stand after you admit to lying profusely and easily to so many people, vulnerable people, people you love, people that took care of your family's kids. It's a lot. And I will tell you, I was very undecided up until about last week about his guilt. Don't know what it what really clicked for me, I think, like I say, was just yesterday and today, hearing it all laid out from beginning to end and not being stuck in the middle of a trial. You forget. It's the same way with me with Lori Vallow, which I will be up there for Law and Crime starting next month to cover her trial some, not the full 10 weeks, but I'm super grateful that they've asked me to come on again and bring the latest to you from the courtroom there. That case is very close to my heart. I love Kay and Larry so much, Cresha, all them. I hope that I get a chance to just hold their hand and hug their necks and be there for them too. It's going to be tough. 2 trials now for them, by the way. I got to do a big catch up episode. I'm going to start finishing out that mega series, by the way, before this trial starts, and we're going to catch up on all these hearings and all the other cases that I've been following before Murdaugh. It's been 6 weeks really since I've updated any other case that I've been covering. So I've got a lot of work to do next week. Plenty to do, thank goodness. It's going to be so weird not going to this courtroom. But I do think that the investigation had its flaws for sure. But at the end of the day, the prosecution team convinced that jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Alex Murdaugh murdered his wife and son, and I'm very happy for the state. I think that they're good people, and I've had the pleasure of talking to some of them over the past 6 months. And when you're from South Carolina, you just get South Carolina people, right? Those are the kind of guys. If they see you on the side of the road with a flat tire, they're going to stop and help. And just sweethearts of both sides. Everybody from prosecution to defense, great people, nice people. I've had nothing but pleasant, positive experiences with anybody from both sides that I've spoken to, and that's just South Carolina for you. Uh, but I do think this was a big day for people in the law profession because it's been such a black eye on the profession as a whole that somebody who took an oath took advantage of that oath and people, and now is a convicted murderer of 2 humans who happen to be his wife and his son. And I think it's a good day for lawyers, especially in the state, because it's really, really hard when you have one bad egg that speaks really kind of for your whole profession because it's all over the news. It's everywhere. It's on every news article. It's documentary after documentary before we even had a trial. And so I think that today's a good day. And Justin Bamberg, who I adore, he's precious. He did an interview with Law and Crime where he talked about working with Alec and being around Alec, and just never would have really thought that he would have done this. But I think it's a good day for those in this state and this country who become attorneys for the right reasons. And that's most attorneys don't steal millions of dollars from their clients regardless. But yeah, I'm just rambling on here, but it's been such an insane day that to type this out would have just been stupid. I just kind of want to convey what it was like. So, what happened outside the courthouse? I actually got the perp walk. I decided because Ann Jeanette was out front covering the press conference. I said, well, I'm going to go around back and just see him come out. Huge crowd. A lot of people from the community had come outside to gather. And uh, it was so quick that people who I think from the community would have been there if they had a little more notice weren't there. But by the end, I saw a lot of familiar faces who made it kind of at the last second after the verdict and we all came out. It was just weird. It was such a scene. And I have some video, I have some pictures that I'm going to put on YouTube, but it was crazy. I mean, just every single tent had their lights on. You see reporters standing up at every one. Vinnie Politan's got like 3 people sitting down, long crime. We're all over the place covering the perp walk and going on air and doing the presser. And you have News Nation everywhere. Brian Enton, who I just love, Shanley Painter. Oh my gosh, y'all. Like all these people that you guys love, I can just tell you how awesome they are. It was just quite a scene. It almost seemed like a block party in a weird way, even though it's not. This is 2 people are dead and a lot of people have been taken advantage of, but that was kind of the feel I got. It was an air that had lifted, I think, off this community because this has been a burden on this community in a lot of ways. This trial has brought some money to the community, which I think there's some good mixed in with everything that's happened. But I think as a whole, this community, I've heard every single person that's local say, "I'm so glad this is over," and not just because we've all invaded their quiet town. I do have some experience here in Walterboro way before the trial. Actually, way before became a mother almost 18 years ago with my oldest. And it's just a great community. But now maybe they can move on a little bit and heal. I don't know what's gonna happen with the financials. I really just he admitted to several on the stand. He's gonna get life without parole tomorrow. So do you even waste your time or do you just say, "Hey, look, I'm guilty of it all." Unfortunately, his law partners are still having to fork out the money to pay back these victims and pay back the loans they had to take out. But I think there's a lot of healing around Alec that's going to have to happen. His law partners who loved Maggie and Paul as if they were their own family. I always say that the victim pool in this case, much like Vallow Daybell, is so wide because you have so many financial victims and their families who have had to deal with this with their loved ones who were just robbed by this man. And then you have friends of Maggie's, friends of Paul's, friends of Alex, friends of Buster's. There's just no end to the ripple effect from these crimes, I think, from Alec. And so I don't think he really has a leg to stand on with the financials. There's such a paper trail. I do think in the future hopefully we get some answers about other cases related to Murdaugh or that have been named, such as Stephen Smith or Gloria Satterfield. And then the financials. What's going to happen? I don't know. I think maybe give this some time to die down. Where's the money, Lebowski? I like to say, I love the Big Lebowski. So anytime they say, where's the money? I just picture the Lebowski the dude getting his head dunked in the toilet. Where's the money, Lebowski? Um, maybe we find out those things. Maybe we find out if there's anything in SLED with Stephen Smith or Gloria Satterfield. I really would love to see justice for Miss Sandy Smith and her beautiful daughter, no matter how that comes or who's implicated in that, whether it's Murdaugh or not. And the same for Gloria Satterfield. And it's just been a wild ride, y'all. But there's more to come with Murdaugh. And I think that now that the murder trial's over, maybe we start to see more arrests of people who enabled him through all these years. There has to be more. And then gosh knows what else is going to come out because I don't think we've heard the last of this man's crimes. I really, really don't. So that's it. I'm sorry, this is very off the cuff and just me rambling, but it's kind of the way I wanted to do it tonight because this has been a big deal. This is the longest I've ever been away from my family, with the exception of weekends. I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to be with my family in my bed every night and rest up. And then in a month, now I can't go to openings on April 3rd for Lori because April 4th, my son turns 16 and I can't miss that. But probably right after that, I'll be heading up that next day, I'm hoping. And then we're going to do this again. And yeah, it's been a blast, y'all. I appreciate all my new listeners. You guys are awesome. Please stick with me. I'd really try to keep it honest and fact based and just not, I'm not going to bash anybody uh, too bad on the podcast because it's just, it's done. People do that, and that's cool. That's how they roll. So I just like to get the facts out, and sometimes I screw up a little bit. You guys are good at telling me, and I appreciate that. I really do. But stick with me. We're just getting started, y'all. Lori Vallow, 10 weeks. So we're in week 6. And we all know when they say it's going to be this many weeks, it's a lot more usually. So I think Vallow, we're going to be in that till summer. We got Koberger's preliminary hearing coming up of the Idaho 4 that were brutally murdered. And so who knows what else? I can't even think off the top of my head what else we have coming up this year. Stick with me. I'm going to bring you the best of it and the latest. I'm always going to stay on top of this case with Alex Murdaugh. Any developments, I'm always going to bring it to you. I'm invested in this one for sure, y'all. And guess what? I might even hop over to some of the financials if there's something good in there. But in the meantime, tonight, I am thinking about Maggie and Paul, their final moments of just horrible, horrible tragedy, terror. And I am thinking about the family tonight because regardless of what you think, they have lost a lot as well. And yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to pack my car, get in the bed, and get up for sentencing and get on that road. I can listen to 2 Pink Floyd albums and be home, or I can listen to Hamilton, or if I put it on like my 80s shuffle mix, just rock out. It's going to feel like a good resolution, I think, going home tomorrow. But anyways, you guys have been great. I'll have another episode out for you on Saturday. And not sure what it'll be, but it'll be there. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Have a good one.